ArenaNet released this today. It says, inside ArenaNet, World Restructuring Beta 1 Recap and Next Steps. Where's Redeems? I'll turn it on soon. Hang on. So I haven't read this today. Let's go over this real quick. So, hi all. On September 24th, we attempted to run the first live beta for the World Restructuring System, a long-awaited moment. As most of you are probably already aware, it didn't go exactly as we had planned. TLDR, they turned it on. Everything was kind of broken for a few hours, and they were like, okay. And they turned it off, and then they set everything back to normal world versus world experience after that. We're back today to share our post-mortem of the event. For those who are unfamiliar with the term, a post-mortem is a process by which a development team reflects on an event, release, outage, etc., and identifies what went well and what could have gone better. I actually knew post-mortem as a different definition, but okay. The goal is to identify process improvements that can be applied to future efforts. We're taking some creative liberty with the format to make it a bit more accessible to readers, but we hope you enjoyed the look behind the curtain. In this post, we'll provide a summary of the beta attempt and an overview of the issues we ran into and what we learned. At the very end, we'll discuss our plans for the next beta. Before we jump in, we do want to clarify that the brief login outage that impacted the EU servers just prior to the beta attempt was unrelated. That is at least one fan theory debunked. I didn't even know about that. Overview. At 10 a.m. Pacific time on Friday, September 24th, we enabled the World Restructuring feature during the weekly European World vs. World Reset.
For Dennis, tell him I miss him much love.
And he misses you, random citizen. Reset is when players are removed from World v World, matchups are reconfigured, and scores are reset. Switching to World Restructuring at Reset ensured a clean slate for the start of the beta. World Restructuring was successfully enabled for Europe on the live game servers, our first hurdle, but almost immediately we started receiving reports that some players were being placed on the incorrect teams. In the movies, this is when the alarms start blaring and the red lights start flashing. The root issue was that players had stale or bad shard data that wasn't updated before they attempted to join World vs. World. When an impacted player tried to enter World vs. World, their game client would request to enter World v World using bad shard data, causing them to be placed on the wrong map and even assigned the wrong team color. This, coupled with an issue in which the UI was not displaying correct team names, created mass confusion. At that point, chat, you just go Dragon Hunter, drop traps, and hide in the corner and just scream. You hope they kill whatever comes at you, no matter what team it's on. Enter issue number 2. No doubt, there was a lot of excitement for the beta tests, that plus the Friday reset meant that turnout was incredibly high, resulting in some deep map queues. Naturally, players began entering the overflow map, Edge of the Mist, to kill some time while waiting for the queue. While we were busy troubleshooting the first issue mentioned above, we received a ping from our lead game designer, Robert Nikorkuk of Inside ArenaNet live game outage analysis fame. He alerted us to the fact that an abnormally large amount of server resources were being used for Edge of the Mist map instances, something like 30 times the norm. So all the people trying to just kill time while they were waiting on the first thing to get fixed ended up destroying the server in another place. However, this wasn't because of increased player activity. Oh no, there was something more insidious at play. We were seeing new Edge of the Mist instances being created despite there being plenty of remaining player capacity in previously created map instances. In other words, there was way too many map instances being created compared to the number of active players, which was consuming a large portion of our servers. Running out of server capacity is a bad thing. Trust us on this one. I like how they put that sentence in, just in case you weren't caught up on that. This resulted in a bit of a runaway effect that needed to be manually monitored and addressed. The fact that we didn't know why the instances are being created was worrisome and definitely chipped away at our confidence of being able to resolve the beta issues on the fly. That's about the time that another one of our engineers reached out about a third issue. Good times! When releasing new content, features, or running beta events, we try to add additional logging. These logs are records of events occurred within a system. Logging is good, chat. If you, like for example, just really quickly, I would love to see logging on just like stats of how many people at max level use the skill guard. And if that number is 0, let's make guard better again. Stuff like that. You know, you can use it for gathering data and statistics and analysis and stuff like that. Logs are your friends, unless they did something really wrong. They can be used to ensure the system is working as designed. They can provide insight into many issues we encounter. We help with identifying eventual fixes. We have entire servers dedicated to managing all of the logs being generated across the game. Well, on this day, those servers met their match. An error was being thrown by BattleServe, the new World Restructuring server, at such a high rate that it started to stress our logging infrastructure. Imagine someone complaining in your ear so much and so fast that your brain is about to explode. These log servers are critical to operating Guild Wars 2, so this is very unsettling to say the least. It's hard to believe, but the 4 brief paragraphs of text above describe roughly 2 hours of events, and all the while the play experience in World v World in Europe had seriously degraded. Our team huddled together and mapped out 2 possible paths forward. Option A was to implement a handful of short-term mitigations in an attempt to keep the beta running, aka the long shot. This would have included deploying a blank build to the live game, which would require players to log out and download a Mire client update. This would force a data refresh on any player impacted by the stale data issue we mentioned earlier, which would then in turn assign them to the correct team. We should note that we believe this would have addressed the issue, but we would have no way of testing it before attempting it. Additionally, there was no guarantee that the other issues wouldn't continue to manifest over the course of the beta week as new players logged in to participate in the beta. We'd also likely need to perform the same blank build update after the NA reset just a few hours later. In this scenario, can I just pause here for a moment and say that I am, as a North American player, I am very, very, very grateful that I have Europe to QA test things for me. I'm so grateful, you guys. I'm so grateful. I appreciate everything you do. Where were we? In this scenario, we would also have to disable the Edge of the Mist map for the entire beta week to mitigate the server usage issue. We found a fix for this logging issue, but it would have taken some time to roll the change out, on a Friday night no less, during which our logging servers would continue to get pummeled. Option B was to prematurely end the beta. This, of course, was the option we ultimately decided on. There was simply too much risk and too many unknown issues associated with Option A. Once we made the call to end the beta, we were able to seamlessly revert back to world linking after a quick cycling of the World v World maps. Later that day, after a bit of a breather, the team reconvened to conduct our post-mortem and create an action plan for the issues we experienced. Here are the biggest wins of the day. World restructuring technology worked at scale, even if it didn't seem like it. This was a huge milestone and gave us a lot of confidence in the technology behind world restructuring. For every player that was misassigned to a team, there were plenty more that were properly match-made. Because we were able to successfully enable world restructuring, we were able to collect enough data during the 2-hour beta attempt to help us narrow down on where these issues exist in code. Seeing how these issues manifested on live also helped us better understand how we can improve our internal testing processes to better catch world restructuring issues in development. Large-scale server issues, especially for a system as bespoke as World Restructuring, can be tricky to test completely in the development environment. That's true. That's true. As someone who has worked both in tech support and in quality assurance, let me just give like a quick just nugget of insight for some of you who've never been in that field. Let's say that they make a new patch, and the patch works great for I'm going to use nice round numbers here, for 99% of the people that use it, okay? Let's say they have 20 QA testers. Those 20 people log in and it works for every single one of them. Maybe they even log out and log in on new accounts 3 times. You know, that's 60 tests. But if it works 99% of the time, only 1 person in 100 is going to show the bad thing. So there is almost always, and sometimes it's small, sometimes it's catastrophic, there's almost always going to be something that happens such a small percentage of the time that you never see it until it hits the live environment, which sucks. But the only way around that would be to have such a massive, massive QA team that it wouldn't be practical to keep all those people hired, or to have a public test realm, which some MMOs do. You know, I played WoW years ago, and WoW had a PTR. And, you know, basically you would sign on to it. You knew what you were getting into. You were basically beta testing them, but they didn't pay you. you were QA. But it's important for people not in this this field to like. At least it's important to me that people don't just like, you idiots! How did you do your job? Blah blah blah. No, it's not that simple. Yeah, they can do their job with 99.9% accuracy. And then that last little thing won't show up until it hits the players. Okay, continuing on. Next, the matchmaking algorithm used for the first beta created an incredibly even distribution of players and guilds across teams. In the world linking system, we can see up to a 50% difference in player activity between worlds. In the first beta, the largest difference between two teams was just 2%, a huge improvement. Creating balanced matches is the primary goal of the world restructuring system, so this was quite exciting to see. Finally, we were able to successfully roll back to world linking with a few issues once we made the decision to end the beta. This point is more about the fact that the team was adequately prepared for this scenario by preparing a detailed runbook in advance for rolling the system back. That's true. That's completely true. The company I worked for, if they put out a bad patch, and you know, this was way above my head, so it's not like I could have told them how to do it better, but it was a one-way street. They did not have an easy, painless way to roll back a bad patch. It was basically shut everything down, get everyone off the servers, purge the servers, reload the information from yesterday from a backup. Everything would be down for hours, bring it back up, and have some people try to log in, stuff like that. The fact that they were, without even shutting anything down, able to bounce back to the old build is impressive from my experience in the field. This point is more about the fact that the team was adequately prepared for the scenario by preparing a detailed runbook in advance for rolling the system back. We tested this process multiple times on our dev servers, but never at the scale seen on the live game. Practice makes perfect. So yeah, they probably planned that. Oh, absolutely they did, Bobby. But this was also the first time they had to test it. It's at such a scale, and it's great that it worked. What's next? There are 10 bugs that we've identified as must fix before we try another beta, mostly related to addressing the stale data issue detailed above and the team names improperly displaying. We've made significant progress on these, but there's still quite a bit of work to be done. As of right now, we're targeting the November 9th release for these fixes, with our next beta week kicking off November 12th. Okay, so that is, let's see, from the moment I'm reading this, about just over 3 weeks away. We'll be making some quality of life changes to World vs. World in the November 9th release. Your feedback is clear. Skirmish reward tracks take entirely too long to complete. Oh, wow. All right, I'm going to pause really quick there to show this. Let's see. When they say skirmish reward tracks, I assume they're talking about this right here. Is that am I on the right page here? Okay. So let me explain the biggest things with this, guys, chat. The way this works is when you're playing in World v. World, you get pips every couple of minutes. Now, you'll get bonus pips, like if you're commanding a big squad, if you're outnumbered, if your rank is really high. All of these things can mean you might get more pips per couple of minutes. Now, when the pips fill up, you get a treasure chest, okay? Now, when you get these treasure chests, something to note here, where are the... if you look at the very bottom line on this little thing that's popped up, says 12 World v. World Skirmish claim tickets, okay? So 8 tickets, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, okay? So those tickets are needed for crafting legendary armor, the Conflux ring, and the thing is because the final chests give more, you could spend so much time just getting up to here and not getting the last two, and still be missing a ton of them for that reset. Turin, thank you so much, buddy. I will read all of those off shortly. I really appreciate that. So it's a part-time job. It's like 20 hours a week if you're trying to get all the tickets you can a week. I know when I first made Conflux, I did World v. World every single day for like a month, and then I didn't go back for 6 months. I completely burned out on it. If you're doing it for the sake of those tickets, it's awful. Okay, going back to the document.
And
here.
everywhere Lamb went,
Wolf was sure to follow.
Ignore that. I left League of Legends open. Skirmish reward tracks take entirely too long to complete, especially for new players or people who are playing on the third place team in a matchup. Again, you get bonus pips per tick if your team is doing really well. To address this, we will be increasing the number of pips earned for match participation from 3, 4, or 5 per tick to 4, 5, or 6. That's huge. That means in the worst case scenario, you're getting 33% more. That's big. We'll also be adding a new +1 bonus pip for players with a World vs. World rank between level 1 and 149. So, really quick to show that for new folks, if I go to World v World here, the ways that you can get bonus pips, one is for, see right here, there's a bonus pip for being between level 150 and 619, and for, you know, basically based on your level. You know, so my level here is 334. There was no bonus pip for anything below 150. And so now there's going to be one. Existing rank-based pip bonuses will also increase by +1, so a total of +2 for bronze, 3 for silver, and so on. We've also been taking a look at the components of the skirmish track and participation system that aren't achieving intended design goals. When are these going live? I believe November 9th. November 9th release. Where was I? In the short term, we will be experimenting with removing incentives for unintended gameplay. We'll be removing participation grace time granted by repairing structures in World vs. World. Oh my. We'll be removing outnumbered pips, though the outnumbered stat enhancement will remain. That's it for today's update. Thanks for reading. Wow. Okay. All right, so let me explain this in a way that people who don't World v World will understand. I've already talked about how pips work. You get pips, the pips fill the bar fills, you get a chest, bar resets, next chest. There is one such thing that is like when you're outnumbered. When you're outnumbered on a map, it will give you, I think, what is it, 50% more pips? It's drastic. It is enough to make people want to go to outnumbered maps and just sit there as long as you can. It's 5 more. Okay, chat's telling me it's 5 more pips, not 50%. It's just 5 more. So if you're getting less than 5, it could more than double your income. So it encouraged you to want to go to outnumbered maps and just stay non-AFK there and just farm pips. From the repair thing, it sounds like what was probably happening is some people would go into a map, sit by a wall that was low health, and then every 5 minutes or so, they would repair it 1 tick, and then they're not AFK for 5 more minutes. You know, they've participated. They're getting rid of that. Someone in chat says I'm doing that right now. Scum. Absolute scum. I myself, when I was working on Conflux and I was in there solo, I wasn't doing that, but I would capture a camp, which is soloable. I would like capture a camp, and then I would just try to stay out of trouble for a few minutes, and then might capture another camp and just go like back and forth. And sometimes there'd be a guy on the other team doing the same thing, and we would just like take turns capping the camp. Every 10 minutes, we would just flip it. And you know that if you don't really know anyone there, or you're new there and you're just trying to get your reward and get out, it ends up doing that. But that at least is doing more for your team than the repairing a wall for hours on end. So yeah. So the next beta starts November 12th. On November 9th, there's a patch where virtually everyone will be getting more pips. And also, you will no longer be considered as not AFK just because you repaired a wall recently. And outnumbered will no longer be a thing, which should reduce the number of people that are constantly map hopping trying to get an outnumbered buff. Although you will still get stat enhancement, so you'll be stronger on a map where you're outnumbered, but the buff thing isn't going to be the pips won't be a thing. That is very that is very interesting. I think that there will be quite a few solo players that are upset by that, but at the same time, I gotta say, I think this will probably be good for the game. I think at a glance, if implemented the way they described and there's no problems, I think this is good for the game mode, but there will be some people that are upset about it that are probably solo players. But yeah, very cool. Very cool. Looking forward to trying that out.